I think it's fair to say that China's credit rating system was semi-crippled. When a company wants to borrow money from the public market, they issue a bond. An investor will finally get the yield of the bond as the return of the investment. The yield also represents the risk you have to bear. But how can we assess the risk here? That's where credit rating agencies come in. You may be familiar with those names: Fitch, Standard & Poor's, and Moody's. They are all worldwide reputable credit rating agencies. They give rating based on financial statement, past record of borrowing and lending, past and current debt, the reason and purpose of raising new debt, and the ability to repay the financial obligations. High rating says it's a relatively good company, relax, it's going to pay back when time comes. And lower ratings gives alert of possible risk, but it also offers a higher investment return. The highest rating is AAA and the lowest single D. Bonds rated higher than BBB minus are considered investment grade, which means relatively low credit risk, while those lower than this threshold are usually considered junk bonds or high-yield bonds. So lower the rating, higher the default risk, and higher the yield. In the meantime, higher the rating, lower the default risk, and lower the yield. Interestingly, such very basic rules sometimes just stop working in China. Let's look at this Golden Credit Rating, which is a top Chinese credit rating agency. In 2020, for one-year bonds rated by Golden Credit, default ratio of AA bonds was 0.38%, while same number of AAA bonds was 1.96%. So the weird thing is that those bonds that Golden Credit gives higher credit rating have even higher default ratio than those with lower credit rating. So this is against the basic rule we just mentioned, right? In September 2021, rating of Evergrande given by China Chengxin Credit Rating Agency was single A, while the same rating by Standard & Poor's was double C. It means that the same company, the same Evergrande, has completely different credit ratings in China's domestic market and global ones. Bond yield in global market is much higher than the one in China's local market. In 2015, People's Bank of China released an illuminating paper outlines the differences between domestic and international ratings. Rating agencies in China usually lay in AA and AAA categories, which is 6 to 7 notches higher on average of those assigned by global ones. Let's put it in this way. A AA rating by a Chinese agency would usually parallel with a BBB minus by a global one. In China mainland market, the credit rating of 89.3% of bond issuers are above AA. That is saying nearly 90% of bonds are investment grade. In the meantime, the default rate in China was extremely low. It was widely assumed that they would never be allowed to default. Local governments and regulators were always expected to step in at the last minute to restructure or recapitalize the borrower if necessary. As a result, there was very little credit differentiation in the lending market. In this sense, I think credit analysts in China are really underpaid. They're fighting with very limited weapons. They have to rely on their own resources, networks, intelligence, and luck to pick bonds. Instead of using global rating agencies like Fitch, Moody's, or S&P, China has 9 domestic rating agencies. 5 of them are state-owned. Well, big issuers, they are usually state-owned or semi-state-owned, so I'm not sure if there is an interest conflict here. Even though so-called independent rating agencies look like private from the equity ownership perspective, they tend to be completely aligned with the objectives of the state.